Frontlines with Christie Hutcherson. Thank you for joining me on this beautiful Tuesday, December afternoon. Today we have a full show. I have two of my favorite people. We have Ann Vandersteel, yes, Ann Vandersteel with Operation Burning Edge, and a dear friend of mine. And we also have Clay Clark, who is behind the Reawaken America tour. So this is going to be an hour packed full of lots of really good information. First of all, I want to thank Brighty on TV for sponsoring this incredible show on the front lines. Without Brighty on TV, voices like ours and Ann's and Clay's would be squelched by this administration and the I call them the Nazi censor police, because they don't want truth out there. So I'm really thankful for Brighty on TV for being the voice in the darkness. So thank you so much again for joining us, and I hope you're getting ready for Christmas. I'm going to bring on right now Ann Vandersteel. Hey, Ann, how are you doing?
Good, Christy. Good to be with you again. This has been a busy day over here where I am sitting. So I know it's busy for you where you're sitting. You're getting ready to head on out to California's Reawaken America tour. That's going to be fantastic. Sorry, I can't join everybody this time, but I've got family in town. And, 8 years, I'm going to put family first this weekend. And I think pretty much anybody can identify with that.
We will definitely miss your voice. I know I'm going to miss you in the green room and palling around with you anyway, but family does come first. I know, Ann, let's talk about that for a second, because I think that what's really missing is the fact that most Americans don't understand the toll and the sacrifice that it takes for somebody like yourself and myself to constantly be on the battlefield, because this is what this is. We're in war right now, and it's a battlefield, and we are worn out. And a lot of times we just put on that lipstick and put on that smile, and you'd never know it. But it takes a toll on us to be constantly fighting for this great nation.
It does. I've high school and off to college, and I'm like, now they're adults and they've got jobs and they don't live at home, and that's pretty devastating. And so when they have a chance to come home for holidays, some are getting bigger opportunities in their careers, and they'll be moving. I've got to take that time to spend time with them, because after all, this is who we are fighting for, right? We're concerned about the future of our country. We're concerned that we have a generation of millennials that really believe that socialism is the answer. They believe that the government owes them a living, but they don't understand who and what the government is all about. The government isn't them. It's people that we didn't elect, mostly bureaucrats that are making massive decisions that have financial implications, that just, slam these kids into a debt slave society when they're complaining about how their rent is more than our mortgage, because, landlords can get it now because the mortgage rates are so expensive. People can't afford to buy houses. So rentals are becoming far and few between, which means prices are going up. They don't understand why that's the case. And it's because they're furthering the existence of this debt slave society. And as these millennials mature and they keep voting in these policies, they're voting themselves into their own financial grave, and they'll never get ahead. They'll never have a piece of that American pie. And they're either going to adopt that Klaus Schwab adage of you'll own nothing and be happy, or they're going to be miserable living in your basement. And as much as I love my children, I want them to grow up, and I want to be able to spend a lot of time with them, but I don't think they really want to be living in my basement. So, it's coming to this realization, and this is why you and I fight for what we do, so that these kids don't have to have a future like that. They can have a future where they have the opportunity through capitalism, real quality capitalism, not this corporatocracy, which is breeding mediocrity and fascism. So it's critical that we do this. But every now and then, Christy, we got to take a breather and just take time out for the fam.
Yeah, I'm really lucky. My son drove in last night, so I got to spend about 4 hours with him today before I have to get on a plane very early tomorrow morning. Socialism is very interesting, because I think that the lie that's been fed to this younger generation, they always throw away free or debt relief or student loan relief, and that sounds really great. I mean, heck, who wouldn't want that, right? Free stuff and a debt relief where I wouldn't have to repay something back. But what they don't tell you is the dirty little secret is actually you are paying it back. You're just not paying it back on your own free will. The government's actually taking it from you. And what I mean by that is more and more taxes. The corporate America, it puts strain on them. So wages have to go down because they have to pay out more. Inflation goes up, products go up, So you're paying for more for everything. So make no mistake, one way or the other, you're repaying that debt. I know for myself, Anne, I would rather it be on my terms than the government's terms.
Absolutely. And I don't think people fully understand that, let's just take, how many federal employees do we have from coast to coast? How many millions of people are employed?
Mm.
Our taxes don't cover their salaries. Our taxes don't come close to even covering the amount of money we spend every year as a federal government on programs all over the place that have nothing to do with Americans. I mean, let's just talk about the money we spend overseas. So, how are they doing this? Well, it's because they have a group of private bankers that fund this through the Federal Reserve and just print money whenever they want. And, a lot of these line items that you find in budgets are just fake slush funds that don't even exist for the line item that it's, supposed to go towards. And it's really to fund a whole bunch of other activities so the government can continue to keep people on the payroll. It's just disgusting. And again, because our taxes aren't covering these budgetary line items, it's not a budget, it's a line item, it's not a budget. Let me make that clear. We end up paying the interest on this money that's printed to create these programs. And mind you, these bankers are printing money out of thin air. They don't even have anything to back the money they're printing. So they're just, it's fiat currency, it's made up. And people need to really stop and go, what in the hell is going on around here? We don't have anything legitimate funding any of this stuff. It's all stuff made up. The regulations are flowing from they're creating law from regulation when in fact regulation should come from law. These people that are writing all this stuff aren't elected, they're appointed. And the ones that were, quotes, elected don't have oaths of office in place. So we have nothing but fraud and corruption on top of fraud and corruption in our federal government, in our state government, and even in our local government. And because America tacitly agrees, meaning they just keep going along to get along, they don't buck the system, they don't ask the questions, they don't stand up and do a Freedom of Information Act request, which is free to find out if these people are legitimately in office. We just agree to this, which means if we agree to it, it must be legit. So we legitimize these criminals by continuing to allow them to be criminal. And at some point, Americans have just got to go, stop. This has got to stop, because our kids are the ones that are suffering, and they're being poisoned by the mainstream media, by the education system, to think that socialism is the answer. It's all about equity, inclusion, diversity, all this nonsense. And it has nothing to do with basically making them better people. It's all about enslaving them financially and from their minds. And so we really have, this is why we're doing what we're doing, Christie. And I don't know if Americans are up to the task at this point, because I think Americans are tired. I think they're tired of hearing the news. The news is a mind meld. Every time they turn it on, it's more bad news. And in fact, it could be great news if they just understood that we have the power to basically take it back with citizen grand juries and start investigating and indicting these people and getting rid of them and putting in and electing the people that we want. And this is how the system is supposed to work. It's not complicated, but our government has made it uber complicated. So it gets people to shut down because they can't even understand what it is the hell they're talking about with rules, codes, regulations, statutes, ordinances.
Yeah,
it's too complicated.
It's so sad, and I think about, with the younger generation specifically, they use a lot of culture wars to keep them busy, right?
Yep.
They brainwash them on the cultural wars. So they think that these issues are so meaningful, right? The LGBTQ, CRT, we've got pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist organizations breeding all over our campuses, these people cheering in the streets for something that they don't even know what it's all about, but they're just walking along and being led. But it's to also distract them from understanding and really being educated on what the federal government is, what they're doing, how this is going to impact their future. They want to keep them dumbed down. And you're right, you and I both, we travel everywhere, inside and outside the United States. And we talk to a whole lot of individuals, both Americans, illegals, and we also talk to citizens of different nations. And, it sometimes gets overwhelming because I believe we are at a point in history. And I know people have said this before, but I'm really going to address this but from the heart issue, from an American who really loves this nation. We are standing at a crossroads of our country right now. With all of the intel and all of the information that we have, Anne, we are in serious trouble. And I believe America's either going to fall or it's going to stand by this time next year.
Wow. I think you're right. I mean, you and I have talked offline, right? And we're saying if we don't see more people want to step up and walk with us and stand up, then we're done. Now, I will tell you this much. I've seen a lot of signs of hope and encouragement in organizations like RestoreLiberty.org, run by Darren Gobb. I've seen great stuff coming out of Tactical Civics, which is David Zuniga and his team over there. They've done, I think there's over 1,200 chapters in 1,200 counties. And these organizations are geared towards educating people on the common law of the Constitution, which is plain English, by the way. It's not gobbledygook legalese. It's simple principles by which we govern ourselves, but also the significance of a grand jury, which a county grand jury is outside the Constitution. That is the people's government. That's the people's way to say, hey, you know what? We see a problem with this government that we elected. You guys are supposed to be doing what we ask and you're not. So we're going to get together away from you guys and we're going to investigate you guys. And if we find something wrong, we're going to indict you guys and we're going to give that presentment to the sheriff, and the sheriff is going to arrest you guys. And then we're going to take you into an Article 3 court, which, by the way, they've suspended Article 3 courts because of national emergencies. But we're going to reconstitute that, and we're going to have a jury of your peers in a courtroom, and we're going to find out if, in fact, the jury finds you guilty the way the grand jury did. That's the system. That's how it works. And once you start to clean house, watch how many rats that were guilty that haven't been prosecuted yet or indicted yet start to come clean and spill the beans on everybody because they don't want to go down with the ship. But, you know, this whole notion of money and power, and it begets more money, more power, and more people want in on it. They think, well, if he and she or they are doing it, I won't get caught if I'm doing it too. So we're all just do it. The next thing you know, we have this inverted government where we're the slaves and they're the masters. And that's not how the system was designed. But because we do have the power to stand these grand juries up as ordained by our Constitution, and it's 1,000-year-old protocol to govern, we need to do it. And so that's what we're out there doing. We're training people.
You know, and I love that because you and I, we got together probably about 9-10 months ago, and we knew that the time to actually act was now because we are running out of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got together and we came up with M.E.E.T for America. And let's talk about that. M.E.E.T for America. M.E.E.T stands for mobilize, equip, educate, train. So when you meet and you have all of those things in place, it equals action. And I'm going to let you talk. We are so excited. We got Tom Renz, an incredible attorney, lawfare expert, and none other than the great Mel K. So are you excited about this, launching M.E.E.T for America? Let's talk about this.
Well, it's about time. I mean, the different speaking engagements you and I have done all over the country, crisscrossing everywhere, have been fantastic. I've got to meet some incredible people on the Reawaken Tour and various county, chapters of RECs and just other organizations that are fighting for freedom all over the place. Like I'm sure you have too. The problem is most of them are looking for solutions. We have heard the problems ad nauseum. We've heard all about voter fraud, COVID fraud, election fraud, blah, 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 blah. We could talk about all the problems all day long, but what we haven't been talking about and bringing is bona fide qualified solutions. I was just talking about tactical civics in broad terms, but that is the simplistic answer. We are the government, we the people. It's right on the Constitution. We need to start acting in accordance. And I know that's what I'm going to be focused on, getting people trained up on that and starting a tactical civics chapter in the city in which we're setting up these seminars for M.E.E.T for America. Tom Renz is going to talk about lawfare. Now, again, as Tom and I and you, we talked the other day on the phone, he's coming at it from the legal side. I'm coming at it from the we the people common law side. They're different tactics, but as we both agree, whoever gets across the finish line first and starts to hold these people accountable is what we need to support. If Tom brings a lawsuit and it gets somebody's head in a vice and they've got to deal with the consequence, I'm right there supporting him however we can, and vice versa. We have to come at this. It's 5th generation warfare, Christie. We have to come and give them everything we've got right back at them because they're destroying our side right now.
It's a multi-tiered attack technique. We use it in the military. We use it in the defense industry. You don't have just one tactic or one plan, you have multiple. And then you have a backup to those multiple plans. And that's what we're teaching you guys how to do, is how to be in community first and foremost with each other. We need to get back to being in community with each other, not all of this divisiveness, because we're stronger and we have more strength when we're unified. I was at the Determined Patriotism conference just recently with you. And I remember this guy coming up to me and he's like, well, Christy, I believe we're going to be okay. I've got the plan in place. We've got the property. We've got about 15 to 18 family members. We got our bullets. We got our food, laid out this scenario. And then I started just shooting bullets in his, and holes in his plan. And just because you think you have it figured out, believe me, you don't, because the enemy knows how to take down 15 to 20 people and
Sure.
and take away what you have. And so that's why it's really important to be in community with each other. The other thing I know, me and my team, we're going to get you certified. And that means you're going to become a community emergency response team. That community emergency response team is going to be working with law enforcement officers on the ground, your own community law enforcement, your own community first responders. You're going to learn how to identify possible active shooters or identify nefarious activity. See something, you're going to know exactly what to do if you see something. Terrorist activity, live shooter scenarios. We're going to go over all of these plans and how truly to defend and fortify what's most precious to you. And again, continue to meet. And I know Mel K is going to be talking about, how did we get here? The global cabal, anonymous America. And so it's going to be this incredible conversion of experts who really know. We've been doing this for a long time, both professionally and in our personal lives. We also have some security experts, very high level security experts. These guys have been in war zones. They've been trained. They're the elites in their field, including, by the way, deputy sheriffs who will be coming in and training you and talking to you about how to engage with your local sheriffs. And if they're not a constitutional sheriff, what you can do to try to get a constitutional sheriff elected, even if they're an appointed one.
Well, I'm actually sending this to Hunter right now. I wanted to see if he can put it on the screen for us, because this is the kind of stuff that people need to see in 2D, not just listen to us talk about it. I'm actually going to give him 3 things here. See if he can pull any of these up on the screen. Hunter, I just dropped that in the chat for you. But and there's a QR code on the most recent one I gave you. But this is, in fact, something that's been needed. We've already got 2 locations, Kansas City and Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs?
Yep.
Colorado.
Yep. Starting in February. So we've got a website up, M.E.E.T, M-E-E-T 4 America.org. And you can actually sign up there, get an idea of the cities that we're planning on coming to. And if it's something that you find of interest, I highly recommend you sign up, put your name in now, because these are going to go quickly. And the part of this that's so critically important is the strategicness of it all. It's teaching you all how to have true self-defense and be organized. It's not just, here's a book, read it. We're going to actually give you homework before you show up. You're going to be in a 1-day intensive seminar. It's going to go all day, working lunch. There's no real breaks except if you need to use the bathroom, because we want to tell you, we want to impart upon you how serious this is. If you understand that the Chinese have already got access to our power grids, our water systems and everything, they've hacked into just about everything. Reports are coming out every day. There's reports that we don't even hear about. You've read the security risk and threat assessment from our federal government. You know how bad it is. You published it. And again, these are open source documents, but people aren't looking for this stuff because we're too busy living our lives until, of course, there's an incident in your backyard or a school shooting in your town, or you lose power and people have taken off your power grid in your neighborhood. So these are all the kinds of things that you need to understand, be prepared for, how to deal with if it happens, but most importantly, how to get through it. And so
communication is going to be key. How to keep your communications and your comms up, how to still have Wi-Fi. We're going to show you, the experts, how the military does this. So you're going to have these tools in your tool shed. You really brought up a great point. You have to buy tickets at least 2.5 weeks prior to the event. Ticket sales will shut off 2 weeks prior to the event, because again, you're going to have homework to do. This is very serious. You need to come prepared. We want people who really want to be the change for this nation, be the change for your community. We're going to be training the trainer. And the unique thing about this is we're not just going to leave town and say, okay, well, we're done. You're going to get a special access code when you graduate, and you're going to have a chance to also level up your skills. So when you get the special access code, that's going to give you a special access to a section of the website, M.E.E.T4America.org. And you're going to have weekly and bi-weekly meetings with more experts to continue your training, where we also talk to you about what's going on, intel reports, what we need from boots on the ground. You're going to be the eyes and ears telling us things that we need to know. You're going to be that liaison for your community to say, hey, this is what's going on. You might not know this, but maybe you need to know this. And lastly, it's going to be pretty powerful, because make no mistake, we are going to have, unfortunately, I wish I had better news. We will see an uptick of soft targets, terrorist attacks. An October 7th event is imminent. Christopher Wray himself has testified to Congress stating that every single red button has been ticked. And we are under the most severe threat that we've ever been under in the United States of America. And that should really, I don't understand why most people and most Americans are still going about their daily lives when that is being said. Maybe you don't understand what that means. The implications of that is that they know for a fact that we're going to have a terrorist attack. Right now, currently, Ann, I don't know if you know this, but they are tracking 50 individuals specifically right now that have directly said that they were going to attack the United States of America, and they are in the United States right now, and they cannot find them. And every government agency is all hands on deck trying to locate these individuals. Now is the time. MeetForAmerica.org. You are not going to want to miss this class. There's only a handful. We're only doing 450 seats. That is it. We are closing it off. Get your tickets before they're sold out. Go scan that code. And what do you have to add to that?
Well, the fact of the matter is, when you look back at every time we've had some kind of national crisis in this country, we've learned post-mortem the government always knew. They knew what was going on. And we're learning that unfortunate dirty secrets about 9/11. COVID has now been exposed in real time. I mean, today Tom Renz put a tweet out about the fact that he knew that Fauci knew there was more like the CIA, and of course, this is an intelligence operation that's going on. So our government has their hand in creating the crisis, because it's the Hegelian dialect, right? Create the problem, bring the solution. Well, this time we're going to interrupt their Hegelian dialect and their solution and their problem solution cycle by teaching people on the ground how to be prepared no matter what comes their way, whether our government is behind it or not. So, right. Christie, I'm just glad to be doing this with you.
I'm really excited about this class. So I really want everybody out there. It's $199 for a ticket, $299 for a VIP tier. That VIP tier, you'll get to have a 2-hour meet and greet the night before, a little light hors d'oeuvres and some Q&A, and really one-on-one with us. And then you'll have some special seating at the actual conference the next day. I can't think of a better Christmas gift right now, Ann, can you, than to buy your loved one a ticket to this event.
Yeah, I mean, this is your future. This is your security. This is your family. This is your country. How do you want it to look in the next 10 years? Do you want in 250 years the people of the future look back at this generation and say, wow, this generation was the founding fathers of rebirthing America? Because that's really where we are right now.
We are. That was really well said. So please join us on the Meet for America tour. Again, it's Mel K, Tom Renz, Ann Vandersteel, myself, and several high-level security experts in their field who are going to come and spend a 12-hour day with you. Intense training. No breaks except for potty breaks, I promise you. You will walk away saying, wow, why didn't we do this sooner? MeetForAmerica.org. So in just a few minutes, we're going to just take a quick break. And is our next guest queued up? Not yet. Okay, so we'll wait a few minutes before we go to commercial break. And Ann, can you tell people where they can find you? What's next for you right now?
Well, what's next for me is finishing the week here. I'm doing double duty for Sharona. I've got my show plus Sharona Bishop's show over on Lindell TV. I'm sitting in her chair for America's Mom. It's a lot of fun. They do a great job over at Lindell. I have family coming in town, so you guys will have a great time at Reawaken without me. I'll be here holding down the fort, being a mom, being this mom right here in this chair. Not America's Mom, but this mom. So that's something I haven't gotten a chance to do.
Did you get your Christmas shopping done?
I got to get that done. That's like a race now. I'm going to have to start, getting on the phone and getting on the internet because I'm running out of daylight here. But my countertop is prepped and ready. I've got wrapping paper and scissors everywhere, so it's ready to have presents. I just need to go and make sure I get all the presents.
You know, we always talk about everything that's going on in our nation and in the world, and it is overwhelming. But you know what? The hope for Christmas is always the hope that we had an incredible Christ that was born for our sins, the Savior, and the birth of Jesus. So I'm very thankful, and I do like to take a moment to reflect on the season and what it really means. How about you?
Oh, always, always. I had a conversation about that this morning on another show that I was on earlier in the day. So I think it was like 10 o'clock this morning. So why do you fight for freedom? What is it about freedom? What does it mean to you? And I said, well, God gave it to us. He gave us our freedom. It's our right. It's our fundamental right, human right. If there's nothing more sacred than that, and if you don't want to defend it, then you have to ask yourself, are you even human? Because it's not just germane to America. This is a fundamental human right, and America has been blessed with founding fathers that understood that and protected that for us in our founding fathers' papers. But frankly, it is a right of all humanity, and we need to help spread that message in a way that's not nation building and nation destroying, and then nation building and profiteering through you name the industrial complex. It's got to be because it's really the right thing for humanity. And I think this is the great awakening we're seeing right now, Christy, is people are starting to wake up to all of this, and that, hey, America's wonderful, but we should be able to have what they have right here. What's the problem? People are now reflecting on the fact, oh, it might be your government, and ours has become tyrannical. So our Declaration of Independence reminds us we can still alter and abolish. So we've got to do it peacefully without firing a shot. Despite all the needles they've hurled at us, we can still do it peacefully.
I agree with you. Thank you so much, Ann. Thank you for joining. And if you'll stand by, we're going to go to commercial break right now. Thank you guys so much. You're not going to want to miss the second half of On the Front Lines with Christie Hutcherson.
We are here to defend democracy.
Misinformation poses a threat to our nation's health.
Climate change is an emergency.
Democratic socialism.
Codify women's right to choose.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15.
If there's one thing that globalist totalitarians are good at, it's fear-mongering. Let's listen to Hillary Clinton spew some manufactured numbers designed to manipulate our minds.
The deaths that are related to climate, and by far the biggest killer is extreme heat. They recorded 61,000 deaths because of the heat in Europe.
The biggest killer is heat? 61,000 deaths? Sorry, Hillary, no consensus exists on heat mortality and cold mortality. Over a 30-year period, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration classified an average of 134 annual heat-related deaths and 30 from cold. Yet, in the same article, a CDC study showed 670 annual heat deaths and 1,300 from cold. That's twice as many deaths from cold. And no number comes anywhere close to that 61,000 deaths in one summer. Hillary Clinton is simply a professional at manufactured fear-mongering.
Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Mark.
And I'm Dr. Michelle, and we want to invite you to our new show, Furthermore, where we bring you the tips about hope, the truth about health, and how to preserve your freedom.
So watch us on Brighteon.tv. We can't wait to see you. We can't wait to spend some time with you. So join us on Furthermore.
This was made possible by Brighteon.com.
After being deplatformed by YouTube, I built Brighteon.com so that we can speak. All voices of dissent are welcome. Join Brighteon.com now, post your videos today, and start building an audience there where you will not be censored. Brighteon.com.
Do you enjoy watching Brighteon TV? Tell us about it. Call our toll-free line at 828-341-6502. Leave a message and tell us why you love Brighteon TV and what truly matters to you. We may include your voice message in our daily live streams. Brighteon TV. Truth matters.
I am increasingly sad that constitutional, law-abiding political prisoners are being held because of the false flag riot that was planned by the enemies of this republic. As such, I offer a more realistic version of the Miranda warning. You have the right to remain vigilant, and you should, because the state does not let any crisis go to waste. If you do not have a crisis, one may be created for you. Anything you say about that crisis can and will be used against you, regardless of any perceived legal rights. You have the right to talk to a lawyer, but that won't stop the state from interrogating you for weeks or months on end. If you cannot afford a lawyer for that time, one will be appointed for you, not that the appointed lawyer will have your best interest in mind. If you decide to speak without a lawyer present, you have the right to stop talking anytime, but the state retains the right to accuse you and prosecute you for motives and thoughts that you did not have, and hold you in solitary confinement for years with much physical and verbal abuse, because they can.
Thank you so much. Welcome back to On the Front Lines with Christie Hutcherson. We're just going to jump right into our next guest, and that's Clay Clark. Clay Clark is the brainchild behind the Reawaken America tours. I've been privileged to be on that tour for, gosh, I think, Jesus, for almost 3 years now. I think we're going on, waking up America to what's really going on in this nation. So thank you, Clay. Thank you so much out of your busy schedule. I understand you're getting ready to head down to California.
Yeah, one of the exciting things about driving 23 hours to a destination is to get started. So in about 3 to 4 hours, we'll be hopping in the white van and driving west from Tulsa, Oklahoma to Tulare. And for anybody listening right now, we have 74 tickets left right now. So I'm not sure when you're going to hear this broadcast or this transmission, but
it's live.
If you're out there today and you want to get a ticket, you just go to timetofreeamerica.com. And for every event we've ever done, this one event included, you can name your price. So if you're watching, we really want you to get the information out there, because powerful people like Christie Hutcherson, like Ann Vandersteel, like General Flynn, like Eric Trump, Mike Lindell, Alina Habba, Laura Trump, they come to these events to share the truth. And we really want to get that truth out to you folks so you can spread it into your communities. And again, you can get those tickets at timetofreeamerica.com.
74 tickets left. This is live. So right now, go call or email Thrive Time. Say that one more time, Clay.
Yeah, it's timetofreeamerica.com. That's the website. And if you want a little bit faster service, you can text me. You see, this is you all know a hierarchy, which the Satan meant for bad, but on the back of it, this is my phone number. You can text me, 918-851-0102. That's my cell phone number, and you can get request a ticket that way too, 918-851-0102, and we'll get you taken care of right away.
Get your tickets. We'd love to see you guys. I know I'm going to be there. I'm excited about going. This is a part of California I don't think I've ever been. It's by the Sequoias and Yosemite. So, take a weekend before Christmas and the crazy busyness and come out. Here's some great, not only speakers, but you're going to get some very valuable information and truth that's really going on. And you're also going to get a little dose of what we need during this season, and that is the hope of Jesus Christ.
One of the things I admire about you, Christie, I really do, is that you always, I've known you for about 3 years. So over each of these years, you seem to get a little bit younger, and you have the ability to put it all together. And it's a really interesting how you put it all together. And what am I saying? I mean, people who don't listen to your podcast, they might, hear the election fraud and go, okay, that's where the puzzle piece fits over here, but they maybe don't see how that connects to the porous borders, or they might not see how that connects to medical fraud, or they might not see how that connects to the vaccines or the Great Reset. But you actually travel on site and on location to a lot of these places, and you provide a firsthand account of the corruption at the border. You cover the corruption of the elections, you cover the corruption overseas, and I really do appreciate you because you always do it with a smile on your face, and you always do it with accuracy, and you really are doing the job that the mainstream media should be doing. You would think that the mainstream media would obsess over getting the facts right. They would obsess about sharing the truth. You would think the media would be obsessed with getting the information out to the people, but that's not what the media does today. They're largely a propaganda arm, and if you look at the sources of funding that control most of the three-letter broadcasting networks, you can see that. But again, if anybody out there, if you're listening today, and you haven't subscribed to your program, I would encourage everybody to do so because, again, you're one of the few people out there that understands how it all fits together. I'm not attacking any doctors or any comedians or any actors that have joined us on the tour. We've had, Jim Caviezel, and we've had Roseanne, and so many wonderful personalities. And what you do, though, is you're able to connect all of these different pieces of the puzzle and explain the Great Reset in a way that's very articulate, but you always do it with a smile on your face. And I appreciate you. You're always doing that with a smile on your face and bringing grace to the platform. And I think you really resonate with women who want a voice. They want a champion, somebody they can cheer for, someone they can support, someone they can look up to and maybe say, wow, this is a mom doing and I can do it too. And you check all those boxes. So again, thank you for all the work you do.
Well, Clay, you're out here selfishly, doing all of this work. And I only do this just like you because we have a Lord and Savior, and I have to answer to him. And we are at a very critical mass in this nation. God has ordained this country to us. This country was actually gifted to us through the foundation, through our founding fathers, and that beautiful document called the Constitution. And it has never been more at risk right now. We have, I was talking to Ann Vandersteel before you came on, and I was trying to tell her, because I'm really trying to be upbeat today because we're getting ready to be in the Christmas season. And I do it with a smile on my face because at the end of the day, I do know who wins and I know where I'm going. But that doesn't mean that we're supposed to sit back and do nothing, right? God wants us to activate our faith, and he wants us to activate and be part of the war team that he has for the second coming of Christ. But when we have terrorists, known terrorists, by the way, when we've ran the data and the information, they're saying it's 1.7 million gotaways right now. And gotaways, I love that phrase because it sounds benign. No, it's a gotaway. Somebody who just is eluded, right? Really, in reality, these people are really bad people. They don't want to be caught. They're the rapists, the murderers, the terrorists, the bad people, the ones that they've opened up their prisons to flow into the United States of America. We actively have 50 known terrorists who they know through the chatter, through the intelligence chatters, mean to do harm to the United States currently right now. And they cannot find them. And every agency right now is on red alert trying to locate these individuals. And so we have to be vigilant, Clay. And I know you're vigilant, and you talk a lot about the Great Reset. You talk about the World Economic Forum and the players to be. I want to ask you a question and get your thoughts on something specifically. I'm asked all the time, who are they and what's the plan and why would they do this? So in the simplest of terms that I can make it for the American people, think about the White House. The White House is the World Economic Forum on a grand scale, on the global scale. Think about the legislative branch, which is Congress and the Senate, as the United Nations. Think about NATO as our military forces. Think about the banking system as the IMF, and think about the CDC as the WHO. That's the global reset. They already have this back-end structure, parallel government already in place. What do you think about that?
Well, one, I agree with everything you just said. I think people, this is how I look at the world. And I encourage everyone to assume I've lost my mind. If you open the Bible to Revelation chapter 16, verse 12 through 14, because I agree with everything you just said, and then I want to add to that. So the Bible, was written, inspired by God, and so if you open your Bible to Revelation chapter 16, verse 12 through 14, you're going to find. I'm not playing solitaire. I'm going to pull this up here, folks, so you can. I'm giving you specific citations, so you know that I'm not making things up here. The Bible states that when the Euphrates River dries up, that's when you're going to have the false prophets show up, and China and Russia team up. Now, somebody might say, "What?" Yeah. So let's go through that checkbox. Euphrates River is drying up. Check. Okay. China and Russia are teaming up. Check. And the false prophet is showing up. That's Yuval Noah Harari. And so you would think that our White House would stand up and would say, we refute this. However, to your point, Joe Biden was the keynote speaker at the World Economic Forum in 2016, talking about mastering the fourth industrial revolution. So therefore, he is complicit with the World Economic Forum agenda. Typically, you would think when China and Russia would team up that you would see our military stand up. However, NATO, as you mentioned, is certainly involved. Also, you're beginning to see a mass infiltration, a mass control of our military by woke generals. Now, I've never served in the military, and so I don't want to disrespect anybody who has worn the uniform, but I'll just give you an example. Many attendees of our conferences are men and women who are in the military, who choose not to wear the military when they're at the event, so that to not cause, alarm. They show up not in a uniform, and they'll tell me, they'll say, hey, Mr. Clark, I'm in the military. I serve here. I serve there. I serve there. And our military is in trouble. Now, I heard this for the first time 2.5 years ago. And I said, how is it in trouble? And this one particular gentleman, he says, in my particular group, this was at the Tampa Reawaken America Tour in 2021, he said, my boss, my leader, my commander, my guy, he is definitely woke constantly. Like, we spend our day learning the different pronouns, learning how not to offend each other. There's a massive focus on diversity. And he's obsessed with every single person being vaccinated. And I said to this guy who's in the military, so what's happening with you? He said, well, I refuse to be vaccinated, so I have to work out by myself. I'm not allowed to do every morning. I don't do the workouts with everybody else. I'm not part of that. They want me to wear a mask, so I can't actually study with the other members of the military. I'm supposed to do my study and my training by myself, alone in the mask. I'm not allowed to sleep in the barracks with everybody else. I have to sleep by myself. And he said, basically, they've ostracized anybody who won't wear a mask, and that's me. He said, I'm the only one in my particular division of the military. And I thought, wow, that's probably an unfortunate situation. Clearly, it's not like that. Got a call from another guy a few events later who's stationed in Missouri, and I'm being very vague as to not get someone in trouble. And he said that he and his wife, they live on the base, on the station, on the whatever. And he said that if they don't wear a mask in their own house, that the woke military leaders would come and knock on their door and say, hey, we see you're not wearing a mask in your home. You need to wear a mask, or you may face, and they throw out all sorts of stuff like, we're going to take away your pay, kick you out of the military, get rid of your retirement. I'm going, no. And I heard it twice. Now, I'm a very paranoid, suspicious, pessimistic person, whatever you want to call it. And so I kept hearing that. And as we've gone now to 22, this will be our 22nd event, I've probably heard that story dozens of times from people that are not related to each other. So we go back to Revelation chapter 16, verse 12 through 14. We see China and Russia team up. We see, this is big, you see the false prophet show up. Now you say, what's the false prophet doing? The false prophet is discussing changing the way that we do money. And that is going to be in the book of Revelation chapter 6. If you want to read about this, it's called hyperinflation. Revelation chapter 6. And if you haven't read it, read it today. But Yuval Noah Harari is saying we need to change the nature of money. And you might say, well, I don't want to change the nature of money. Americans will never change the nature of money. Well, to your point, when discussing the Federal Reserve is closely connected to the International Monetary Fund, which loves to sit down and do interviews with Yuval Noah Harari. And they're wanting to change the nature of money by implementing a programmable central bank digital currency. So how do we get there? Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and an additional group of 6 countries. So the BRICS 11 will be forming on January 1st, I'm sorry. So you're going to have the BRICS 11, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, plus
Iran.
And Iran. And just this weekend, you had Putin team up with, he met in person with Iran. He met in person with Saudi Arabia. He met in person with Dubai. And they're solidifying that. And it was just announced over the weekend, there's 20 additional countries now seeking to join BRICS. So we're about ready to have more countries not using the U.S. dollar to buy and trade oil and other precious resources And so we're about ready to have de-dollarization. And then you say, well, what is their plan? Their ultimate plan is Revelation chapter 13, verse 16 through 18, which is what we call the mark of the beast technology. And this technology is called quant.network. That's the website. Look it up. Quant.network. That's the website, folks. Also, MIT developed what's called CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, which were rolled out there by Executive Order 14067 of Joe Biden, Executive Order 14067 being pushed by Lil Brainerd of the Fed. She refers to the program as Fed now, but it's Executive Order 14067 and CBDCs. And then finally, MIT, the MIT lab that funded the CBDCs also funded the quantum dot, which stores your medical and financial records under your skin. So to your point, I do believe we have these branches of government which are supposed to give us our sovereignty, but they've actually been captured. And I think, again, you do a very, very good job of accurately explaining that. And I think if anybody just wants to know what is going on and what you can do, I think one great way to do it is to go to the Reawaken America Tour event. Now, this will be our last West Coast event. And I'm saying this not so people cheer for me, but so the people understand. My wife and I feel called to do these events and to let people name their price. So I'm not attacking anybody who has a different price structure. There's a lot of great events that do their thing. We just let you name your price so you can afford to go. And anytime that we have a loss, which in this particular case, we just transferred over a little over $100,000 to cover the losses for this event. My wife and I will cover that from our other business ventures from over the years. And so this will be our final West Coast event that we'll be doing. And if you want to join us in Tulare, California, which is just outside of Fresno, you can go to timetofreeamerica.com, timetofreeamerica.com. And Christy, anybody who brings their cow, we're allowing them to have a backstage pass for free now. Because we want to push back against the Great Reset agenda. Have a little bit of fun.
No. Hold on. So you're allowed to bring a cow.
Yeah, if you bring a cow, you do get a backstage pass because we're going to be at the agricultural center and we're surrounded by farm communities. So if you bring a cow, you get a backstage pass now. That's a real story. It's a real thing we're doing. Bill Gates wants to ban the cows. We can't let that happen. So if you bring a cow, if you bring one cow, two cows, we'll get you backstage pass. It's a real thing. It's a real offer.
We need to have a big speaker photograph with the cows.
I had one guy call yesterday now, and he claims he's going to be bringing cows. So I choose to believe that what he's saying is true. But I was on a local radio show, and I said, if you bring a cow, you'll get a free backstage pass now. And I'm doing it because I'm serious. These farmers are some of the most resourceful, hard-working people. They get up every day, take care of their animals 7 days a week. They're resourceful. They can fix a tractor. They can grow their own food. And a lot of these resourceful people are just now waking up to what's going on. And so we need more of those kinds of people on Team America as we rush into this election here. I mean, folks, we have under 330 days left until the election. I mean, I am just praying that we can get President Donald J. Trump in there surrounded by people such as yourself that have not lost their minds, people that do facts and who love our country, because during the last presidency, through no fault of his own, and I believe this, President Trump was surrounded by Mike Pence. And that's a man who certified a fraudulent election, who led the COVID task force. Trump was surrounded by a lot of...
I can name a whole list of individuals President Donald J. Trump should not have around him last go around. And
I agree.
You saw them actively working against him, some in the open, some in the clandestine. And I really hope he does flush out a couple people that are currently around him right now and really stand strong with those individuals who really have been on the front lines and putting everything on the line, leaving their families, their fortunes. You're in the same boat. I fund almost everything myself. God has blessed me in my, I was a defense contractor on my own, the defense, the DOD and the DLA and DHS, and all of them contracted us. As a matter of fact, I remember under the, Donald Trump, so Donald Trump's administration had contacted our company and they asked us to look at wars on different fronts. I really can't talk because it was a very high level, top security clearance kind of operation we did. But I can tell you what I can tell America and you, and what you already know, Clay, is we're not capable. And he started building back up the military, which scared the bejesus out of the globalists. And then when they stole the election from him, they started dismantling the military again. And we are so weak right now in this multiple front. Iran is a huge problem on our southern borders, and so is China. Russia has a footprint as well in Nicaragua. But we have Venezuela, who, of course, last year, Biden himself, instead of course, opening up our oil reserves, because, we have plenty of oil here in the country to be oil rich and independent, he went to a dictator, a communist regime who is paid for by China and Iran, and that is Venezuela, Maduro. So Maduro just now announced, and I broke this story, I wrote this article 4 weeks ago, And it just now came out in the news about a week and a half ago that Venezuela is getting ready to invade the country of Guyana. Why are they going to do that? Well, Guyana has discovered massive oil-rich areas. They're going to be the fourth largest oil-rich country in the region. So China and Iran want to get their greedy little paws on that. And then, of course, you've got the supply chain and China building up agricultural property, the Belt and Road Initiative, and all of those things. And Venezuela gave both China and Iran over 146,000 acres under the disguise for agricultural purposes. In reality, it's military. Same thing with the country of Bolivia. Bolivia is a military base for Iran, and currently they have Hajar drones, military drones that are capable of housing and carrying ballistic missiles that reach the United States of America right now. And our own CIA and our own government know this information, but we've got to get this information out there. And I know I'm going to give this presentation on Friday, I believe. It's a very serious presentation, and I'm going to show a whole lot of intel and intelligence that you're not hearing in the mainstream press. And this all goes back to what you said, Clay. It's about the rising of the Antichrist. It's about the globalist. It's about keeping us under, wiping out America as we know it, the rise of the global economy. Ron's going to be joining that BRICS nation. It is the destabilization of our dollar. And America does need to wake up. And the Reawaken America Tour have been so important to this nation and this country. And you and Vanessa, you know, I know how much it's not just the money, because, you know, your treasures are in heaven. And I know you know that, Clay. Yeah. But the time and the effort and the energy, because you care so deeply about this country, and more importantly about your savior, we need to support the Reawaken America Tour. And if you're not even going to go to the tour and you can't go, you know what, sponsor, help Clay and Vanessa to absorb that $100,000 loss. That's the least we can do, is to be patriots in this movement together, brothers and sisters.
I want to tell you a true story. This is a true story to give people some encouragement as we head into this Christmas Reawaken Tour. True story here in the final couple minutes. We had a lady we were backstage at the Reawaken Tour in Las Vegas, and we were in a bad spot, meaning my wife and I, we were out hundreds of thousands of dollars. And each time I do these events, there's like two emotions happening. One emotion is I'm so glad people are here and there's a joyful celebration. The second is I'm going, this is really expensive and we're losing a lot of money. So those are the two things happening. This lady walks up to me and she says, elderly lady, she says, can I support the tour? And I said, yes. She said, how do I do it? I said, well, if you go to timetofreeamerica.com, we have a button there where you can click and you can donate, because I'm being sued by the former head of security and strategy of Dominion, Eric Coomer, a guy who, if you watch his deposition, it's truly fascinating. But anyway, so I'm being sued by a guy who ran a moving vehicle into a parked building during the day and then lied to police who were wearing a body cam about it, the guy who was in charge of our election security, that guy. And so, she said, well, I have a checkbook. Can I write a check? And so I said, sure. So she writes the check and she hands it to me, folds it over, and I, okay, look at it. I pull it out, I look at it, and I'm going, go find that lady. I said, hey, I don't know if you meant to do this, but you wrote me a check for $100,000. And she said, honey, I can't take it with me. And I just want you to know that Jesus did it. So if you'll just make sure you don't tell people my name, this is what I feel like I've been saving for a reason, and we got to save our country for my grandkids. And I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate your sacrifices. And I really, and that particular donation was one of the donations. Then we had all these small donations of $20, $50, $60 that all came together. And my wife and I went from facing what I thought was going to be about a $600,000 deficit on that particular event to where we essentially wrapped up that event just about breaking even. And I can't tell you, I'm driving back home and I'm going, we just lost $600,000. That's what I'm thinking. And then to have all these wonderful people support us. So I really do encourage everybody on this holiday season, if you're feeling generous or you want to support or you want to find a way to help, if you go to timetofreeamerica.com, we have a button right there and you can support our ongoing legal battle, ongoing lawsuit there. And it really does help. And we're going to do one final event that I know of. Eric Trump and General Flynn tell me where we're going. We'll do one in Michigan in June. And I'll stay tuned for details. I don't know yet, folks, but that'll be probably the final that I'll be doing. And then as far as for me, what I'm doing is probably what a lot of the speakers are doing. We all have certain tasks and certain lanes and things we're doing. And I'll be working on a couple projects that hopefully I can talk about later. But I just encourage everybody out there, please support Christie Hutcherson and what I call her ministry, or support the Reawaken America Tour, or support so many of the fine speakers there. But if you do want to support these events, all of it, I don't take a single dime of income from these, and it all goes to cover the cost of these events. So if you go to timetofreeamerica.com, you can support the tour.
Yeah, thank you so much. And please tell Vanessa, and God bless you guys, and Merry Christmas to you and your children. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to seeing you. And as always, the Reawaken family, because we've become a family over these last 3 years.
Oh.
And we don't get to see each other as much as we used to. So I always look forward to it. So thank you so much, Clay. God bless you. Merry Christmas, and I'll see you this weekend.
All right. Take care, Christy. Have a great day.
Thank you, too.
Bye.
You know, I'm reminded of this holiday season that's approaching, and we're running around and we're trying to get those last minute gifts, and it's a little bit more difficult because our pockets are a little bit less full, right? Because of this administration and the policies. And it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, or independent. We all have a role to play in saving this beautiful country called America. So thank you guys so much for joining us. God bless you. Until next time on the Frontlines with Christie Hutcherson.
The preceding show was sponsored by